I keep saying you have to match. The duos have to. It really comes down to which duo can outdo the other one. I don't either. Every single day, I'm like, it switches. I'm like, Boston go in, then Dallas is go in, then Boston go in, then Dallas go in, then Boston go in. It's just, I, I don't know. I don't know. I can't even go off of their games from the season because Dallas don't look like the same team, right? Like what's his name? This is from which game is this? Fuck man. This is from the March 1st game. 110 138 110 Boston won, right? And Tatum had 32, Brown had 25, and Porzingis had 24. Well, you eliminate Porzingis. I know Derek White has the potential to score that much, but Kristaps was such a huge part of being able to spread the floor against those bigs. And then on the other side for the Dallas Mavericks in that game, Luka had 37 and Kyrie only had 19. Gafford only played 5 minutes. Lively only played 23 minutes. Josh Green played 28 minutes. Like, it's not the same team at all, right? Like, obviously, we would expect Kyrie to make more shots, but it really comes down to that duo, right? And in this other matchup, which when was this? Was this in January 22nd, right? Boston won 119 to 110, and Luka had 33, Kyrie had 23, but Tatum had 39 and Brown had 34, and that's really the difference. It's like Luka's what Tatum is +6 on his matchup with Luka, and then Brown is +11 on the points. Like, but we've seen, you know, basketball is it's about rhythm and it's about runs. And right now, honestly, both duos are clicking. Oh shit. um See if this Timberwolves series looked more like the OKC series where freaking Kyrie was getting like 10 points. Like, you know, then maybe I would lean more towards Boston, but especially like especially recently, Kyrie's been going crazy. And I was watching Gil's Arena yesterday, and they were debating Luka Doncic, how to cover Luka. And Gilbert Arenas was saying that the stats say out of 100 possessions, when you double Luka Doncic and the Dallas Mavericks, they score 67 points out of 100 possessions, right? When he's double teamed, versus when he's not double teamed, right? And I think it was like 101 or some shit, or 110, 110 points out of 100 possessions is some crazy shit, right? And so obviously you have to double team him. But what happens if PJ Washington gets loose and gets 30? Because now what happens is, right, this because this when you're in a series, Are you gonna do the same thing the next game and fuck around and see if PJ Washington can hit open threes again? Yeah, I don't know how that works. At some point, Luka's gonna get off, and it's gonna fuck everything up. So for me, Boston's defense has to be their offense, right? I'm pretty sure if I could find the stat. Who? Yeah, it's like it's like I think obviously you want him to consistently see two people, right? But at the end of the day, let's see. I'm trying to see what team, because I'm pretty sure. Yeah, see, I was right. The Boston Celtics lead the league in isolation plays, right? The Clippers lead it in possessions, but they lead it in, what is this? Where the fuck was it? Oh, they don't lead it in this. Why the fuck were they on the top of the list then, motherfucker? So frequency percentage, it's the Clippers. Boston is second. They're averaging 13.2 points on ISOs. Dallas is averaging 10.7 possessions. This is the regular season on isolations. Oh, this is the playoffs. So sorry. Oh, so they were close. So 11.7 possessions. Dallas was averaging 9.9 for Boston. Points, Dallas was averaging 12.3 to Boston's 10. So that's tough. Because like I was saying, one of the keys is going to have to be for Boston to really attack Luka and score on him, make him tired, but then also force a rotation, because now they're going to have to start double teaming and helping. And now you get free shots for other people. It's like they could, both teams can do kind of similar shit. It's just for the Boston Celtics, you have, yeah, so like I think the easy answer would be, like, for example, for the Mavericks to have Lively and Gafford make plays for you. But, they're going to make an adjustment and put Kyrie in a position to receive that ball off that catch, right? And now you're going to leave Kyrie one-on-one on the weak side. Kyrie's going to have the ball going 4v3 at the rim, right? Like that's the other problem. Like once we could talk about Luka all day long. Once the ball leaves his hand, and if the ball finds its way to Kyrie Irving, you have Kyrie in either an isolation where a guy's either scrambling or the guy's been on him. And if he attacks the rim, it's a 4v3 on the backside because Luka already drew two. It's a problem no matter what. On the other side, Boston causes similar problems for Dallas. Dallas is going to have to double Jayson Tatum. I don't know if any one person is going to be able to guard him either. He he just don't have the ball as much as Luka does. But I'm pretty sure he could post up pretty much all of those guys. PJ Washington would probably have the most success. But Derek White and anyone else, Derek White, Kyrie, and Luka, I think he could take those guys one-on-one and post them up. Jaylen Brown can take most of those guys one-on-one and cause problems on the weak side. That's what we were talking about the other day. How, yeah, they double Tatum on the strong side, but once the ball finds its way to Brown on the weak side, he gets to play one-on-one on an island. It's like they cause a similar problem. For me, the difference is in Boston's ability to guard. Dallas has good paint defense, but Boston has better perimeter defense. Not saying that they're going to stop Luka and Kyrie, but their guys have, they've gotten defensive stops to win games. They've done it recently. You have different bodies to throw at Luka and Kyrie, and they're not just anybody. Two of them are all defensive players. Brown was potentially another one. And Jayson Tatum has size and isn't a bad defender himself. So when we look at that versus the Dallas Mavericks, we're looking at PJ Washington and Lively. And then I think Derrick Jones Jr. is a good defender. These guys have just been so good at one-on-one. Like, Brown and Tatum have just been so good at one-on-one. Like, I don't know. I would have to see Derrick Jones Jr. And then, obviously, we'll look at Kyrie and Luka, and they're more of the liabilities on defense. So, realistically, this is a really even and a fair matchup. And I think this is why we're struggling with it, right? I don't know, bro. Do we lean on experience? Do we just take the easy route and say Boston has more experience? But then they argue that Boston had the easier route. And then like but look, we could do this shit all day, because then I can argue this, right? I can argue that the Dallas Mavericks haven't faced like a legitimate championship contending team this year. In the sense of a team that had actual championship experience. Like, Boston had been there themselves. The Clippers, no one on that team. OKC with Bill Walton, I didn't even think of that part. OKC, obviously, they're young as fuck. And then I said this before. I really wonder how that series looks if Denver played against Dallas. Because down the stretch, if those games against the Denver Nuggets are close, I think they look a little bit different than what we saw against the Minnesota Timberwolves. They made that shit look easy. And now you're playing against a team that has been executing down the stretch. And then let's add the fact that a lot of these games for Dallas have been really close. OKC, a lot of games were close. Clippers, back and forth. Minnesota, they won easily, but it was still relatively tight games. So they haven't faced a team that compares to the Boston Celtics. The same way the Boston Celtics haven't faced a duo like the Dallas Mavericks. But I feel like this is what Boston has been working for. And there's such a thing in the NBA as growing pains. Like certain losses are the turning point in players' careers. And that's how it's felt all year for Boston. We saw, I forget who it was that got traded to them. Was it Tillman? I think it was Xavier Tillman. But I was watching an interview in the middle of the year, and he was saying, because he came from Memphis, and he was saying how the demeanor in Boston was totally different. Like, they don't get too high, they don't get too low. They try to stay consistent. Jayson Tatum has been saying it in every interview. Even keeled. They try to just not too high, not too low. The way they prepare is different. The way they do things is different. They're just like it's like the shit that motherfuckers be saying. Like, they do championship shit from when they put their socks on. Like, everything is to the championship, right? And they dominated the year like that was the case. And so it feels like it's the Boston Celtics' championship to lose. And they're running up against a hot Dallas Mavericks team. Now, how will Derek Lively respond? Yep. Yeah, I agree. It's that for them, and for me, it almost feels like for Boston, if they get over this hump, they might start running the table every year. Because, now they're going to know how to get this job done, and they might, I think we're going to start really putting some respect on these two guys' name. They've been phenomenal this playoffs. I don't think a lot of people have been talking about it, but Brown won MVP in the conference finals, but Tatum was averaging 30 and 10. like this team is just hitting on all cylinders as well. The real issue is Porzingis, though, unfortunately. We'll have to see how he looks. Man, can the Boston Celtics win this without Porzingis is really the question I'm at right now. What do you think, Elijah? Without a 100% in shape, like NBA final shape and mentality ready Porzingis, can they beat a hot Dallas Mavericks team with arguably the best player in the world? I still think he's the second best player in the world. And a Kyrie Irving that's a proven champion. I don't know. Yo, I'm just gonna say it, bro. I was talking to this with my girl the other day, because I've picked against the Dallas Mavericks since round 1. Oh, you think they do beat him still? Oh, nice. Because this is what I was saying. Or no, not since round 1. Sorry, since round 2. Because I thought the Mavericks would actually beat the Clippers. But since round 2, I thought OKC would beat Dallas. Conference finals, I thought the Timberwolves would beat Dallas. And so I told her, I was like, I'm due to have a right to be right on against Dallas, and I could easily just choose Boston and say I think I'm gonna be right just off of that. Like I'm due for one, but I think the teams are so close, right? Like the teams are really, really close. I think Minnesota is dumb as fuck. I think these players are really great, but they didn't make the game more difficult for them, and the games were already tight. Like it's I don't I'm disappointed in Minnesota. They played a shit series, and the series was still tight. Um, but I think Dallas and Boston are so close offensively in terms of, we've seen, obviously he's not 33.9 and he's never had 73, but Tatum can score the shit out of the ball. And this year and this playoffs, he's made it a point to get to the basket and get to the free throw line. And I think there's going to be times where he needs to realize he's the biggest player on the floor. And once he realizes that and makes the switch, I think this series can switch. Jaylen Brown, I think, has like his confidence is through the roof. Like he knows his role, but he knows at any given time he feels like he's the best player in the world. Like you could tell the way he speaks about himself. So when you add those things together, their defense as a team, not even individually, they've been there before. They've gone through all of the losses. I don't know if Luka's gone through enough of these heartbreaking losses yet. Boston has had a couple of them already. And so, having gone through these losses, it's made them numb to the up and down emotions of the finals. And a player like PJ Washington that's from Dallas, that loves his home, that's, been so prideful about his game and where he comes from and being in Dallas, he made all of his dreams come true. He has a bad game. How does that look like? Lively has a poor game. How does that look like on the rookie? I think Luka and Kyrie will be okay, but we saw it happen for Denver. In the second half of that game 7 between Jokic and Murray, they had like 30 something 40 points together, and the rest of the lineup had like 3. So if you're going to rely on PJ Washington to get you over the top, I don't know if you could count on that. But we've had guys on Boston who have gone through this process before. And by that, I think Boston Celtics win the NBA title this year. And they win it in... They win in 6 games. 4-2. I don't think it goes to game 7. I think they figure it out, and I think they get this. I think they get this out, and I think the Boston Celtics win in 6 games. What you think, Elijah? All right. Whew. I've been tripping over this shit all week, man. I have been tripping over it all week.